So this week we got yet one more model, which is the Opus 4.5 by Anthropic. So today I'm gonna test one specific thing for Opus and through one specific feature that I think no other lab did something similar to that level yet, which is Anthropic's or Claude's extension within Excel. So today I'm gonna test that extension. I have a sheet that I got from the internet with data that contains information about products, cost of goods sold, the sales of these products, and other pieces of information. And today I want to see what actually that extension with something like Opus 4.5 behind it can actually do in a real life situation if this goes to business. So I work in supply chain, so I deal with these Excel sheets a lot. So if I have access to such technology in my work, can I really robustly work with such extension and get it to do the heavy lifting for me where I can focus on the strategic analysis of the data and making decisions? And the other cherry on the top I have for you is that in my last video when I reviewed Gemini 3 and then I actually tested along in that video the pro model of ChatGPT 5.1, one of the community members made a comment that said, why don't you test these models in solving chess problems? So I really hope you enjoy this episode. I'm really looking forward to see what Opus 4.5 would do. I didn't test it yet. And if you enjoy it and you like the work I do not forget to hit that like button, maybe share it with someone else. And the best thing you can do to show appreciation is hitting that subscribe button if you want to see more of my content. And with this and without any further ado, let's get started.
Subscribe to Daddy's channel. The mic.
Okay, so what you see on the screen is Excel now. And you can see here on the top right, you have the Claude new plugin in Excel. And if you go online to Anthropic, you'll find all the instructions of how to install it. And when you start it, it will give you kind of a warning. Again, once you introduce such a plugin into your workflow or into your Excel, you put your data at risk. So just be aware of that and use it with caution. So this is a database that looks at certain segments, a country, a product, a discount band, units sold, manufacturing price, sale price, gross sales, discount, general sales in terms of values, cost of goods sold, profits, dates, month number, month name, and then the year. So this is a basic spreadsheet of sales information. Now, as you see, there's no other sheets. So this is the only sheet you see on the screen with the information in it, and nothing else is in there. So there is lots of things you can do with such data to really digest it and try to analyze it and break it down. I have created a comprehensive prompt that will get Opus 4.5 to do all the work for me. So in theory, I'm testing this to the max. So this is a case where I run such a prompt, everything is done for me. My only job is to analyze the data. So here on the right, you can see it's a long, detailed prompt with steps defined clearly for the model on what I need as an outcome. And here on the bottom, you can actually select if you want the model, Claude, to ask you before edits or just accept all edits. So I'm going to go with accept all edits to see what it does. And with this, I'm going to hit go and we're going to watch snippets of what it's doing along the way. And then we look at the end result once the whole thing is baked and ready for us to review. We'll hit go. So it got stuck there for a second, which got me worried. But now it is exploring the data and the sheet. And I think it's starting its work, but you can see it's the visual at least of Claude is actually, it's taking good amount of compute, I would assume, from my machine. Okay, so here it's creating some overview sheets. So you can see here on the bottom, I can zoom later on, but I can see already 6 sheets created by Opus. So that's getting off to a great start. Now it's done. I have a summary, so I'm going to check the work. But looking back at the process it followed, it built so many things. So it has full access to Excel. And actually, the steps it followed were very pragmatic and planned and organized. So I like that. Okay, this is the overview and it's amazing. You can see it created a title for me. So this is the financial sample dataset overview, some information around the dataset, and then the high-level metrics that I have from the data. The super interesting thing it did here, it automatically, knowing that I live in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai, it actually decided to convert values into AED, which is the local currency. So that was super smart, honestly, super impressive. So we have the gross sales, we have total sales, total profit, average discount, and then the overall profit margin. So we're doing 14% of profit. So overview is exactly what I asked for. Super clean, to the point, exactly what I want out of it. Now let's go and look by country. So here I have the sum of sales and sum of profit in dollar value per country. So we have Canada, France, Germany, Mexico, and the US. And again, this is a pivot table, by the way. You can see the pivot details here. So it built the pivot table for me and gave me exactly one of the ways I want to look at my data through. So this is really looking good. This is the kind of things I do in my day job with my data when I try to understand how the business is running. So that's an impressive outcome. So let's go by segment. So here we can look at the segments. So we have sum of sales, we have actually the period, and then we have the channel partners, the enterprise, the government, mid-market, small business, and then the grand total. So this is a different way to slice and dice the data and look at it, which is again, really impressive. All of this, by the way, it took it around 3 minutes to do the whole thing. So that's really solid. So let's go to the charts. So here I have the countries and the sales per country and then by period. And it's giving me 2 charts, again, automatic. I didn't touch it. Everything was done by Opus 4.5. And now we have a tab for scenarios. And here it created kind of a scenario analysis tool. So here I can adjust the percentage and see the potential expected outcomes. Again, we have the same metrics here: gross sales, total discount, total sales, the cost of goods sold, total profit, and then the margins. So for example, if I change the discount to 10%, I hit enter, the whole thing will adjust, and then I can see what is the margin impact I have. So obviously by giving 10%, now I'm losing 10% out of my margin, which is super interesting. This will take my profit down from 14% today to a hypothetical future where my profit margin is nearly 4%. So that's a discount I shouldn't be giving on average across my sales. So again, this is something super intuitive, super helpful when you are running these type of analysis of your data and to make decisions when it comes to your business. And lastly, there's one more tab that I didn't ask for, but super interesting, which is a kind of a changelog. So here it shows me all of the things it did and the sheets where it did that work, and the range and the change type, and then a description from the model. So all in all, this is super impressive. The only thing I might test offline is its ability to deal with big data. So usually in the real world, especially when you deal with items and sales and numbers, you're not looking at kind of these categories. You're looking at line item level, which means that you have Excel sheets with thousands of rows. I'm not sure if the model can handle that amount of data. That would be a test to do. I don't have the data to test it with today, but it could be something to do in the future. But even so, even if it fails at that, in theory, what you can do is just create a simplified version of that huge data and get the model to analyze it and dice it for you. And honestly, this is why, if you always wonder why people love Claude and Anthropic in general and why people stick to it, although sometimes they struggle compared to OpenAI and other companies, this is why. In the niche they focus on, they're so good at what they do. And honestly, this is one of the most impressive things I've seen that actually bring value to someone doing work with AI. So if companies at some point adopt and get a safe setup for such an AI to exist in your Excel sheet, this is something that will change people's lives, because again, you're dealing with a really smart artificial intelligence model here. Not only it will do that work for you, but also it can do analytics. So potentially I can follow up this prompt with a prompt asking for a narrative around the model, analyzing that data and dicing it. How would it see that performance of the business going and which areas I need to focus on? Now I can do that for myself, but again, when you're looking at big amounts of data, potentially when you have these models supporting you, again, the model might see trends that you as a human are not able to see across huge amounts of data. This is super impressive and it's a really high mark for Claude, Anthropic in general, and definitely for Opus 4.5. So now it's time for the cherry on the top. I'm gonna challenge 4 models: GPT 5.1 Pro, GPT 5.1 Thinking, using heavy thinking, and then Opus 4.5, and lastly Gemini 3 with this chess problem. So this is a chess game in this situation, and here I'm asking the models to find the potential next two moves for black to win the game. Now there are things to notice here. There's a highlight over the knight of the white team, and that signifies that the last move was by white, so the next move is by black. So this is the first one. Now here the black can do two moves to finish it in two scenarios. The first one, it can use the bishop to attack the king here, and then the white has one of two options: either to attack the bishop with the white knight. Once that knight kills the bishop, the black bishop, then the queen, the black queen, can actually kill the white knight, and then it will be checkmate as a game. So this is scenario number one. The other scenario is when the black bishop actually attacks the king here. The king can move to one edge. Once that happens, we can move the black knight to kill this pawn here, and then it's a checkmate. So these are two scenarios how to finish the game. I will use the highest thinking level in each of the models depending on the setting that they have. For example, for ChatGPT 5.1, I put heavy thinking. For Claude, it's just thinking. The same goes for Gemini 3. And Pro, obviously, it's the Pro model. And already I have ran the exact same prompt with this image across all models. And now I will show you one by one how each model got it. And we're going to see if any of them or which one of them actually got it right. So let's start with Opus 4.5, and it got it wrong. Actually, it answered too quickly and with thinking mode on. And it gave me an assessment that there is no forced checkmate sequence for black in this position. If anything, black needs to find defensive resources to survive. I think it didn't get that the last move was by the white side of the board, and that the next move is for the black team on the board. So it basically says it can't happen, and actually it's on the defensive mode. It needs to start defending as the black team. So Claude got it totally wrong. It doesn't have that capability to solve such type of problems. It's good with code, but it can't do this kind of thing. While I honestly thought it would do better, but it didn't get it. So let's go to Gemini and see what Gemini 3 did. So Gemini actually answered, but it didn't really answer in verbatim. So I had to ask it to explain and kind of in plain language explain the strategies, because I couldn't get what it was saying. So I wanted to really judge it carefully. So I asked it to do it in a more kind of explanatory manner. So this is what Gemini 3 is saying. The core problem right now is simple. Your own bishop is standing in the way of your queen. Okay, your queen is the heavy hitter, but it needs a diagonal line to open the strike to the white king. That's correct. So there's two scenarios, and we agree there's two scenarios. In this variation, the white king decides to capture your bishop after you attack. This is wrong. So if you move the black bishop, so if we go back to this here, if we move the black bishop, the king cannot capture the black bishop because it's protected by the queen. So that's for sure wrong. Okay, so the sacrifice, you smash your bishop into the pawn right in front of the king. So again, they're talking about a different move altogether. So it's got it wrong. So yeah, I got confused with the way it explained it. I just wanted to make sure that I understood well. It got it wrong. The scenario 1 doesn't work that way. It will not work that way. Let's look at scenario B. The king hides. In this version, the white king sees the trap and refuses to touch your bishop, which it can't. The fear, you attack with the bishop, but the king steps sideways into the corner, h1. So this is a scenario we talked about. Instead of capturing, your bishop is still alive. You move it again to get it out of the queen's way, but this time you park it in a spot that blocks the king's escape route. Okay, they ignore. White might try to take your queen now, thinking they have won. It doesn't matter. This mother is you use your knight and bishop to deliver a checkmate. It is, again, I think this is wrong. So what is saying, once I attack with my bishop, the king will go and hide on this block here. Once that happens, it says that I move my bishop away to block the king, and the only move either to retreat back or actually move to g1. But in G1, actually, the king can go back and kill the bishop, and it's a whole new game here. But once that happens, if I bring my queen here, still white can kill my queen with, so it will not work. It can kill my queen with the white knight. So this strategy also will not work. So Gemini, while it was close to the logic of the solution, it didn't get it right. So it failed on both scenarios, but it was very close compared to Claude. Claude was way off. Let's look at GPT 5.1 thinking, and GPT 5.1 thinking stopped thinking. So this is what I'm getting here. If you see it, it stopped thinking. I will go to the Pro model, but this says something about ChatGPT. I will actually get it to try again while we go and see what Pro got us. So this is the response for Pro. It thought for 18 minutes, the Pro model. Black has a forced mate in 2 here. Okay, key idea. White king on G1 has no G, okay, or H pawn. So it's just describing where everything is. Move the bishop from D6 to H2, giving a check. So that's correct. White has only 2 legal replies. So we're off a good start. White captures the bishop with the knight from F3. So that's correct. So it will use its knight to kill my bishop. Now the diagonal C7 to H2 is completely open. So you move your queen. Queen from C7 takes the knight in H2, and it's a checkmate. Perfect answer for the first one. Let's go to the second scenario. Instead of giving up the knight, white steps with the king from G1 to H1. So the king actually hides. Now comes the second hammer blow. Okay, knight from G4 takes the pawn in F2, and that also is a checkmate. ChatGPT 5.1 Pro aced the exam. So it got the 2 scenarios and both are correct. Okay, so this is the second error for ChatGPT 5.1 heavy thinking. So you can see error in message stream. I think it's a complex problem, so it keeps thinking and reasoning about it to a limit where actually the system cuts it off. I'm assuming GPT 5.1 thinking couldn't actually give even a response or solve the problem. Okay, so what's the takeaway here? Number 1, Opus 4.5 plugin into Excel is amazing. It is something for sure I would hope my employer at least, or other businesses, when it's safe to do so, deploy for their employees, so you can do much more analysis and save lots of time when you do these breakdowns as you are looking into your data. So that was a great test and a great feature that Anthropic put out. Now for the chess problem, Pro, again, this is the arena of Pro. When I did my previous video, if you didn't watch that, go and watch that, where I did the same tests with Gemini 3 and the Pro model of ChatGPT. I gave a simple problem to Pro and it really didn't do a lot with it. I think Pro is a model that is made for complex problems. And this is something I suspected when I did that video, because the outcome was mediocre by the Pro model then, but it is as if I'm killing a fly with a hammer kind of thing. So you need to give it the right problem and you'll get the right outcome from it as a Pro model. So it did think for 18 minutes and solve the chess problem, which again is not something that requires an expert in chess. But at least the Pro model reasoned through it. There's so many endless probabilities when you look at such a board, at least from the perspective of these models, and Pro did it well. Now for the other models, I would rank Gemini 3 as the top because it had the kind of initial right direction to solve the problem. Later on, I don't think it had the enough reasoning. Again, it's not comparing this to Pro because it's not fair to compare any of them to Pro. But for Gemini, actually, for its level, comparing it to its competitors, it is really good because it had kind of the first push in the right direction and then it couldn't reason beyond that really well. It gave a solution, it was the wrong solution. When we go for the Opus 4.5, it actually gave something that is totally wrong. And finally, GPT 5.1 thinking. I'm not sure if this is a good or bad thing. It depends on how you look at it. So tell me what you think in the comment section below. It was actually trying to reason to the level of Pro into the problem problem, get to find everything where it is and then the possibility of the movement, but it doesn't have the power behind it to do all of that reasoning, so it failed twice. But it was trying to go into that direction of high-end reasoning. So it didn't give a response, but some people might say that's super bad that it's not even responding or even predicting a solution. Or some people would say I'd rather not have an answer and for it to collapse under the reasoning pressure rather than have a wrong answer. And hey, before we sign off, tell me in the comment section, which model, excluding the Pro, do you think did the best? And what's your opinion about the Pro model and its ability to analyze such a complex problem? This is it. I hope you got something out of this and enjoyed it. If you did, do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, maybe share it with someone else who's questioning the ability of the Pro model or the other models. And with this, thank you for watching and goodbye.
Subscribe to Daddy's channel. Give me the mic.